After the election, it became apparent that the agenda of the president-elect would veer from many of the dreams of the American people. A clarion call was put out for a women's march on Washington to demand that we would not turn back on progress, nor would we accept a world of fear, hate, and division. Women drew together to protect against the incoming tide of a dark and troubling future. All across the world, 5 million women and their allies gathered to defend our same dreams for peace, equality, and the protection of our precious earth. I came to the Women's March in Washington as a filmmaker and participant. With my camera and microphone, I walked the streets on that inspiring day to see and hear what my fellow sisters had to say.
2030 Constitution, guys, you're looking great. The march is now going on to 2030 Constitution because there are so many of us.
Went down to D.C. and I took back what they stole from me, and I took back my dignity, and I took back my humanity, and it's under my feet, it's under my feet, it's under my feet. Ain't nobody gonna walk all over me. D.C. I went down to D.C. and I took back what they stole from me, and I took back my dignity, and I took back my humanity, and it's under my feet, it's under my feet, it's under my feet. Ain't nobody gonna walk all over me.
I'm here for my mom, for my nieces, for my cousins, for Black Lives, for Baltimore City. I'm here for America. I feel encouraged. I feel hopeful that there are so many people of like minds that came together. If you look around, there's people of all different ages, different ethnicities, different orientation, and it is the people. This is a representative of the people. I don't believe that it's going to change the administration. I really don't. I mean, being realistic about that. But what it does is it shows the world that we are not what Donald Trump says we are. We are the United States of America, and we're not what Donald Trump is promoting. The hatred and the divisiveness is not what the founding fathers hoped for this country. So I'm hoping that the world sees that, and that when elections come around again, that these people that are here now are going to vote. And vote for the people that are in Congress, in the Senate, and let them know that this is not acceptable. We are outraged. This has got to change. We're not going to stand for it. We have children, and the future for our children is not going to be dictated by hate and divisiveness. That's why I'm here today. Election happened, and we can say that a certain percentage voted for Donald Trump, but the majority of the American people did not. And we're here to make sure that our voice is heard. Freedom for all women. And we talk about women's rights, we're talking about human rights. And it is critical that we continue to voice our beliefs and to stand for one another.
Tell me what democracy looks like!
This is what democracy looks like.
All right!
How could I not be here? I live here. I didn't have to fly from California. I have people from California, Rhode Island who traveled. I live here. How could I not come? This is democracy.
What do you think it accomplishes for us to be here today? What do you think?
We see each other. We have the chance to bond and unite and connect, right? Because we have a lot of work to do. So that's, I think, the main thing. I don't know what message condescending to the nation, but the nation is here. So.
Yes.
Well, our raw presence says something.
Yeah.
We dwarfed the inauguration. We already know
Well,
that.
I'm not too shocked about that.
So, yeah.
This is DC too,
Yeah,
98% for Hillary. So,
Yeah.
but we're here with people from all over the world, really, right?
Tell me what democracy looks like.
This is what democracy looks like.
Tell me what democracy looks like.
This is what democracy looks like.
Black lives matter. Black lives matter. Black lives matter.
Black lives matter. Black lives matter. Black lives matter. Black lives matter.
Okay, so you came from Buffalo, New York
You did.
to the march here, and can you tell me why it was so important for you to come?
Well, this has been really devastating for me personally, you know, having the election turn out the way that it did, you know. And so I think that for me that this gives me hope that, you know, that we can say that this isn't okay to have all the hate rhetoric that we've had to deal with for the past year. We really, really believe in the oneness of humanity and a global civilization, and that was, you know, I never thought that we would take a step back like we did, and that we have a multicultural family. You know, we have 7 grandkids, and half of our family is black and half is white, and we have Christian, Jews, and Muslims, Baha'is. And we need to respect the different faith backgrounds that we come from, and the different colors of our skin, and so that's why I'm here.
Do you feel that the President Donald Trump is similar to the
A dictator, or
yes, or could you pull an analogy between, say, Hitler
Yes.
and what's happening? Is that what is frightening you
For
the most?
me, yes, and I've said that to everyone around me. I'm telling my children and my neighbors, everyone has to arise and do everything and anything that they can to make a difference. Yeah, I've cried, I've been in shock. I definitely feel that he's, how do you say it? Authoritarian, however you say it. He has very dictator-like behaviors, for sure.
Have you ever recalled a time
No.
where you felt this scared?
No, I'm 55. I've never felt anything like this on any level.
Do you feel by coming here today that you're a little more hopeful?
I definitely. Yesterday I didn't turn my TV on, and that would have been devastating. I'm really grateful that I didn't see it. I heard that it was really dark and frightening, and I had hope. I had a lot of people through social media that I know were devastated yesterday, seeing their post, and that they didn't know how they were going to get through the day. And I was uplifted because I was working on the signs and preparing. I had to drive to Fredonia to catch a bus for Fredonia because all the buses were booked up, and then drive out and go on a bus all night long with people that I'd never met before. For me, this was my hope, and this was the way for me to get through yesterday. The inauguration, the first day, you know, or of Trump being sworn in. I definitely feel that this gives a lot of hope to a lot of people.
Her body, her choice. Her body, her choice. Her body, her choice.
It's important that we're all here today because we have an illegitimate regime in Washington today.
We're arguably living through the worst time any of us have seen in our lifetimes in America. We have a regime that lost the popular vote and yet won the archaic electoral college vote, and it won it by conflating progressive sounding rhetoric with fascistic ways of thinking and pushing people to behave. Misogyny, the worst of misogyny, the worst kinds of racism, the most brutal forms of religious discrimination, talking about banning an entire religion in our country. We've installed a government in this nation now that legitimizes grabbing women by the you-know-what, that legitimizes racial discrimination of the worst kind, that collaborates with the Ku Klux Klan, that literally validates banning Muslims from our country, that's debating kind of what degree of broad-scale discrimination and punishment and mistreatment of groups of people is permissible. Not whether it's okay, but how much we can get away with. We're literally looking at the beginnings of fascism in the United States of America by throttling and intimidating and scaring the media, by making use of social media as a kind of misinformation machine to convince people of things that are not true and to make the most of differences and wedge issues that have particularly working class white voters terrified in a kind of misinformed panic. And then using all of those media for those messages to install, with the use of the White House, a kind of institutionalized state propaganda. We haven't seen anything like this in our country, maybe in its history, maybe since the Civil War, maybe ever. So if now is not the time for people of conscience to stand together and say, if you pick one of us off, then you're picking all of us off. If now is not the time for journalists to stand up and act like journalists, instead of letting themselves be picked off one at a time by being blacklisted and by being blackballed and by being barred from the White House press room, if now is not the time for Muslims to stand up, for other people of color to stand up, for people of all sexual orientations to stand up, for people of all genders, I think a women's march today calls all of those forces together in the name of human rights. Women's rights are human rights. Sexual orientation rights are human rights. Racial justice rights are human rights. Religious and worshiping rights within the borders of civil liberties instead of theocracies are human rights. And so the Women's March today, as so often women's causes do, call all of us to the clarion of human rights for all people. And if now is not the day for us to stand up to a fascist regime that wants to steal away even the hope of democracy in the United States, there will never be a day. So this had better be the day, and we'd better be here. And I'm really happy that we are, that we dwarfed the size of the crowd at the inauguration with our own inauguration of a new movement for resistance at the Women's March.
I went down to D.C. and I took back what they stole from me, and I took back my dignity, and I took back my humanity, and it's under my feet, it's under my feet, it's under my feet. Ain't nobody